Kia ora no tātou. So this is a very important piece of legislation, and as is reflective of the general attitude of this side of the House to matters to do with savings and financial related challenges, we're actually supporting this bill. So it behoves me to take every second of the 10 minutes to ensure, sir, that not a single member of the New Zealand watching public, dare I say it, the Australians, the Pacific Islands, beaming down, sir, beaming down, watching the final 45 minutes of this afternoon, sir. Sir, we've heard from Mr Garrett. We know that he's made Private Roy. OK, go back. We don't want to be distracted by this, sir. But this, in terms of what Mr Gilmore said, it does pertain to GST, and GST is a key feature, a consumption-based tax, and anything that does simplify it ought to be supported. But, sir, I really want to turn to the elements that relate to KiwiSaver. Now, it's actually a tragedy that KiwiSaver has been wrecked by the current government. And although, sir, these amendments will be supported by us, they are of a technical nature. The underlying architecture of KiwiSaver, sir, has been rudely injured and almost fatally injured as a consequence of the parsimony and the disinterest, sir, of the current government in supporting savings. But wait, help is on the way. Sir, KiwiSaver ought to be a simple process. KiwiSaver is designed, sir, to achieve what the Prime Minister talks about, but unfortunately very rarely acts upon, i.e. making up for the lost ground in relation to the nation's savings deficit. And, sir, if the government had have continued in the fit of generosity and commitment that we showed to grow savings, not only would KiwiSaver have increased in its size. So I was talking today to a senior member of the Wellington commercial community, sir, and they had the good fortune to bump into a bank. And that bank, sir, told them that people who are their customers are now growing far more enthusiastic about the idea of seeing their regular balances and the improvement in their savings position. And they're disappointed that not only is the Cullen Fund being gutted, but KiwiSaver contributions may be under threat as a consequence of the niggardly approach that the current government has taken. Now, sir, it's interesting that the bill comes to the Finance and Expenditure Committee in the sense that formerly Mr Bill English was a member of that committee. And indeed, when Don Brash was replaced by John Key, Bill English replaced John Key on the Finance and Expenditure Committee. And I recall Mr English on a number of occasions talking about the importance of dealing with the country's indebtedness. And KiwiSaver is a fantastic instrument to enable that to take place. But it's not the only type of savings we have in New Zealand, sir, but it is one that is likely to grow poorer if all we're going to see are minor technical changes in terms of the greater debate which has been neglected by the government. It's akin to pettifogging, sir. And what are we actually seeing? We're seeing a committee created to address the underlying problem. Now that committee, sir, is likely to come up with a set of ideas that will come perilously close to the point where we get into the election contest. And the opportunity of the last 3 years will unfortunately have been lost. Lost, sir, lost because 3 years has been squandered in not dealing, sir, with the underlying, not so much challenge, but opportunity to take a risk and actually grow people's enthusiasm. And I sense it, the word enthusiasm, I sense it coming from the other side of the house. So as they seek to embrace a more deeper commitment to savings. So it's a moot point as to whether or not savings ought to be compulsory, but we should not overlook the fact that the Australians have a compulsory system. Now, as a consequence of that, their savings record outstrips ours. And for as long, sir, that we do not have a compulsory system, we're going to have to live with this gap. Now, sir, we know, sir, that gap is something that the current government has become painfully aware of. Now, sir, a reasonable question has been posed. What is, so the man actually was referring to you. I won't ask you what you're doing, sir. You are transfixed as a consequence of this debate on a Thursday afternoon. But this is not an issue of what this side of the House is doing. This is an issue as to what the government has not done, and all they're able to bring forward are some very minor, sir, and almost parsimonious changes that will not make a difference on the real challenge that lies ahead of us. So now, I can assure you this side of the House is progressing well on its savings policy. All types of people are bringing not only their ideas, but their support that an innovative set of policies will emerge and that there will be a plan. Because half of the task that we have in front of us, sir, is turning up with a plan. Now, I'm not going to repeat what other members have said. There's a paucity of thinking and a total absence of a plan in terms of the government, other than to say that our reason, sir, why we support these changes is that our policy iterations will be sophisticated. And these changes, whilst they are clever, and whilst they are of a technical nature, sir, they actually build on the architecture that was laid down by Dr. Cullen. And it'll probably stand as a part of the proud legacy of that government that an overdue step was taken in respect of the savings architecture and savings culture. Because the thing is, sir, this appeals to your garden variety kiwi, and it definitely appeals to businesses. Now, sir, we do have a few reactionary forces, random voices, threatening to emulate Hone Harawira's style of politics and revolt in the event that employers are required as a consequence of a compulsory savings policy to contribute. But that's a matter of their theatrics, sir. The deeper issue is that New Zealanders actually want to save, and they want encouragement to save. They want a simple process where they can save, and they want to know that their savings are going to go into enterprises, sir, enterprises that are going to deepen the reservoirs of capital, enable talented people to remain in New Zealand and grow enterprises as a consequence of having access to capital that has an indigenous origin. And why businesses, sir, why businesses are enjoying the prospect of greater savings, they know that they won't be reliant purely on bank finance. They won't be reliant, sir, on imported capital, but over time, whether they are small start-up firms, sir, in the middle of their growth trajectory, or very large firms that have managed to spread out to other jurisdictions, they'll have access, sir, to a range of savers via these funds, professionally managed, and slowly but surely will recover the lost ground, sir, which has continuously been lost, unfortunately, day after day through the government's inattention and I suppose confusion as to what to do. But, sir, let it be said, all successful economies thrive on the basis of accumulated capital and productivity. And, sir, this is a small attempt, which is why, consistent with our general bipartisan approach to matters of important economic enterprises, that's why we're going to support it today, sir, because we know that businesses and garden variety Kiwis, they actually want to get behind a savings culture, a savings enterprise that is going to make a difference to the long-term wealth-generating capacity of the country and prosperity at the level of individual New Zealand families, New Zealand communities, and, dare I say, the overall New Zealand economy. And so it's fitting that we should arrive at this point where I signal we will support this bill, sir. There will be a few refinements as befits the intellect